Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'd like to open the Town of Farmington Town Council for May 26th, 2026. I'd like to start by asking Bill if you'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we get started, I would like to make a statement that I know a number of you are interested in hearing, so I figured the time to do it is right at the very beginning. And I wanted to provide all of you a brief update and to the town council regarding the Tinty property. As many of you are aware, the town has been working with the Cemetery Association for approximately 8 to 10 years.
Hey, Brian, excuse me. Patty has a point of order.
Oh, sure. Oh, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add a chair statement regarding
Oh,
the
thank
Tinty
you.
Cemetery. Is that what?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Can I just ask everybody to turn your mics on?
I make a motion to amend the agenda to add a chair statement regarding the Tinty Barn Cemetery as a new item C and public comment, and therefore will be moved forward one letter.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Patty.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. I'd like to provide you with an update regarding the Tinty property. As many of you are aware, the town has been working with the Cemetery Association for approximately 8 to 10 years to identify a suitable parcel for a future town cemetery. Over the last 2 years, the town's efforts focused on evaluating 2 alternative properties. Plans were reviewed with the state regarding the Hine parcel, and testing was completed on the Bland parcel. Both properties were ultimately determined to be unsuitable for cemetery use. It was the position of both the Cemetery Association and the town that there were no other suitable town-owned properties or locations for a cemetery. The Cemetery Association expressed interest in determining whether the current town council wished to revisit consideration of the Tinty property. For that reason, the town manager included an item in the manager's report. During that discussion, it was noted that a formal legal opinion would be necessary before the council could consider the merits of any potential use of the property. The town manager received that legal opinion earlier today. The opinion concludes that use of the land conveyed by Mr. Tinty for cemetery purposes would violate the covenant contained in the deed. Additionally, the opinion states that the town does not have a legal obligation to devote town-owned land for burial grounds. In the future, the town council will need to regroup with the Cemetery Association. I've instructed the town manager to include the legal opinion in her manager's report at the June 9th meeting. I've also asked the manager to provide this information to the neighborhood email chain that has been corresponded with the town council. I appreciate the neighbors' engagement through this process and thank them for taking the time to share their thoughts. Many of you know that I feel strongly that public participation remains an essential part of the government process. So thank you all for sharing that with us, and we now have our solution. Thank you all. Our next item is item D. Consideration of special topics.
Public comment.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I skipped over public comments. This is now time for public comments. Please come up. You've got 5 minutes. Give us your name and your address.
Jay Tulin, 39 Timberline Drive. Quick recap about Jewish American Heritage Month, which I spoke about a few meetings ago, and the importance for communities to recognize and celebrate their heritage every May since the celebration was established in 2006. I've been very active on social media, posting about individuals, organizations, communities, and school districts that are acknowledging their respective Jewish heritages. One such historical individual that exemplifies the importance of celebrating the local Jewish heritage in Farmington is Abraham Greenberg. I come before you this evening, as promised a few meetings ago, to talk briefly about his life and legacy. Abraham Greenberg was born in 1847 and died in 1907. It's noteworthy that his legacy includes time in Hartford, West Hartford, and New Britain prior to settling in Farmington, all of which play a significant role in his life and legacy. Mr. Greenberg was one of many benefactors and immigrants of a gentleman named Baron de Hirsch's generosity. Baron de Hirsch believed that Jews should emigrate from Europe to the United States, become interested in agriculture, work as farmers in an effort to dispel existing negative myths at the time, some of which still exist today. He provided funding for many immigrants, including Abraham Greenberg, who arrived in Hartford from New York in 1888 to pursue his new life. But Abraham Greenberg did much more. In 1891, he leased a 28-acre farm on Oakwood Avenue in West Hartford and eventually leased a farm on Middle Road in Farmington. It's noteworthy that he also served as a cantor at 2 synagogues in the area from 1889 to 1897. Many workers on his farm were given cantorial instruction by Mr. Greenberg. The Unionville Trolley, when it existed, was utilized to transport individuals to his farm to recover from health issues and help on the farm, and also transported many immigrants to his farm via an organization which still exists called the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. Mr. Greenberg welcomed all and always had ample assistance on his farm and provided cantorial instruction for those who need it. That's being a cantor. They're the ones that sing in synagogues, basically. His story illustrates that individuals can leave a legacy by taking advantage of an opportunity like the one afforded him through the actions of Baron de Hirsch, and that's a meaningful life on his farm, welcome people to help on his farm with open arms, and again provide instructions to cantorial wannabes. I'm going to just throw a Yiddish term out. He wasn't a big macher, but he, which is basically Yiddish for big shot. But I think that some of the stuff I'm talking about here shows the impact of the time that he spent in Farmington. Anyway, finally, the most important part of the Greenberg story is that after he passed in 1907, the farm was purchased by the Cadwell family. The picture that I gave you in your packets a couple of meetings ago, that actually was the farm after it was purchased by the Cadwell family. Not sure exactly when that was, but that farm eventually was purchased by the state of Connecticut, and I think it's really interesting that that property that farm is on is now UConn Health Center. That's basically the story, just a couple of thank yous. Thank you to the Jewish Historical Society and Executive Director Jennifer Clow and her predecessor Elizabeth Rose for providing this information. I also have to say thank you to the Human Relations Commission for allowing me to read a proclamation that you know I've been pushing for some time. So I really appreciate them giving me the opportunity to read that record. And Brian, thank you for allowing me to do that. You know, it meant a lot to me, and I really appreciate you letting me read that into the record Thursday night. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Tim Kelly, 62 Westview. I'll be brief. At our last council meeting, we heard a presentation to invest a large sum of money in a reno rebuild of all 3 main fire stations at their current sites. One of the major premises of this proposal, to maintain the traditional station footprint, was that it would enable us to continue running a largely volunteer force of firefighters, which of course would be great if possible into the future. But before running with that assumption, and given the experience of many other towns in central Connecticut, I think we need to look at some data. Specifically, I would ask that we do a quick analysis of our present-day volunteer ranks. How many members by station and in aggregate are now age 20 to 29, age 30 to 39, age 40 to 49, age 50 to 59, and age 60 to 69. Anyway, as we sit here on a potential site for Consolidated Fire Engine Company 1, I look forward to seeing the analysis results at our next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Paul Krell Jr., 365 Meadow. I have about 470 feet there in between my brother and myself and the gentleman who bought my cousin Patty's house. I think we represent about 2/3 of the sidewalk area between 177 and Judson. I want to offer what I offered quite some time ago to a smaller committee, the sidewalk committee, a suggestion, and that is that the issue of snow clearing, I think my daughter may have sent you all something on that. Some towns do snow clearing on issues where they're going into school areas. And this has been a major reason why to have the sidewalk there, because of the school. You currently are doing the sidewalk already, the one along Judson Lane. And one of the issues that we've seen at various meetings, it begs the question, do you want a tax increase, or do you want to, and have the sidewalks done, or do you want to leave it the way it is? I had suggested to the committee that there got to be a third alternative, and that, for me, from my perspective, is that this is the first time in 20 years a sidewalk's being put in. It's being put in partly for the connection for the bikers, but a lot for the people that lived in the area coming into the school area and getting that active. If you put that and tie that around the reason, you no longer have to do it for everybody. You create a third category that you can then make a decision on, particularly if you're going to be doing this for other people. Aside from the fact you should have a committee made up of the people of the road, and you've heard me on that, some of you, in the sidewalk, they should be involved actively in it. The last sidewalk committee nobody was involved from that lived on the road. But I really think, regardless of what side this goes on, you really should think about doing that. You're going to have the equipment out there already, so why not? You know everybody's not happy. Yes, you'll be responsible for it. But you don't have to offer it to the entire town. Now, halfway there. I'm hoping that you all have talked to Deep concerning the easement and the wetlands that the sidewalk will be going through. There's two areas in particular I'm thinking about. I'm not going to say anything at this point. I'm hoping that you all have done that. I know I have. I've already talked before about the bulk of the people live on the other side, but given the dangerous situation that occurred the other day with somebody dying, I was on vacation at the time, but I think safety is an important part, and the other side means fewer places for them to cross. Now, I know that the town manager's goal set up is to get the sidewalk done, so I'm not sure where that is in terms of timeframes. And when I read over the proposal in terms of, it was a little depressing, the idea that it would be off into the fall, a decision being made, because it sort of, again, begs the question of which direction it's going. Rails to Trails, I'm a member of that. I'm also a member of some bike groups. In my most recent submission of my membership, they had a questionnaire asking about my support for trails and everything. And I said, I've always supported trails, but I don't support the idea of taking people's land. And by the way, before I forget this, because I'm running out of time, everybody says they own 15 feet. Well, you don't. You got about 10 feet. I did some measuring. In some cases, maybe less, but you're really not working with 15 feet. That's not the number that's accurate. I looked at my metal fence posts, which tells me where my property actually starts. And then when I have one hill that goes up, I don't know if you measure up the hill or how you play it, but there's a lot of different things that go into it. It's not 15 feet. I feel like people are stealing my property. I got a whole minute left. Let's see if I got all my, because I put little notes. I can't believe this. I'm actually done early.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Two for today. Open mic night again.
For 5 minutes.
My name's Mark Krell. I live on 155 Judson Lane, and I also own 373 Meadow Road, which is a rental property. And about a year ago, before I go on, let me take a moment. I want to bring a name forward, Sierra Schultz. And maybe you think about a moment of silence for her. She's the person who died. She's the first person who died on Meadow Road since I've lived there. It's one of the most, seriously dangerous roads in Farmington, especially during peak traffic hours, like coming home from work, going to school, coming home from school, coming home from work, going to work. And so basically, I came to town about a year ago, and I had mentioned that I was concerned about the safety on this road. I brought to the attention of the town manager and the engineer that what they should be doing, not instead of a sidewalk, in addition to a sidewalk, is doing some corrective matters on that road, because it is a dangerous road. There is a very short sight line, especially when you're going not 30 miles an hour, not 40 miles an hour, but 45 to 50 miles an hour on that road. And the problem is it happens. I've seen it. I've actually timed cars and did things like that. And they do go that fast. They even do it on Judson Lane at times. But I'm very concerned about that road, that thoroughway, because it's a main thoroughway for traffic in the morning for work, like I said, and it connects Bristol to Farmington, and then elsewhere to their job sites. But to correct one of the things my brother said is that on the south side of Meadow Road, the town actually owns 5 portions of land. 3 of the portions were bought with grants from the state. And these areas, and there's actually 4 areas that have poor drainage areas. And supposedly, they went in front of the Wetlands Commission and everything else and put the forms in. And but the questions are, did they really pursue it? Did they really check it? Did they really see what the poor drainage is in that area and what the salt will do to it when it is pushed into those areas? There could be a compromise of where salt isn't used on the sidewalk, if you have a sidewalk, that the sidewalk in those areas where the wetlands exist could have a permeable surface like gravel, which would make it a little bit better for the state requirements. Those things are alternatives that could happen. And the way I feel that the town almost owns 50% of the footage of the road, but they own a large sum of acreage on that road. So basically, I feel the town should take more responsibility for the sidewalk because of the amount of acreage. The other thing is that I did a little bit of research on tax structure. When you have a sidewalk on your property versus when you don't. Same house, one across the street from the other. Very similar makers. You're taxing the people with sidewalks higher because the value is higher. About $10,000 higher, comes out to be about $700 a year, maybe. But that's still more than the guy across the street. And so they're already paying a premium for having a sidewalk, not on their property, on the town property, but they're having to clear the sidewalk, be responsible for the sidewalk, and then repair it in the future if it breaks. And they have no way of saying where it should go. I heard Mr. Russell talk about going around trees and things with this sidewalk. One of the important things is trees have roots. And one of the most important things is those roots grow, and those roots push up that sidewalk, especially concrete slab, and cause trip hazards. And that trip hazard is actually a problem with people who have poor vision like myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Just curious, how many people here would like to speak on the sidewalks? Show of hands. Well, that was a good timing. Just curious.
Oh, you might have one person.
We have another person?
Do you want to speak? Oh,
Oh, no, just curious. All right.
Brian, you might want to, people showed up late, you might want to remind the statement was given.
Yeah.
well, let him. He went right
For
out.
those, oh, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Jim Drake. I live on against the Tinty Field. I didn't realize today somebody announced that he died in 2008, which means he was my neighbor for 15 years. And I talked to him a couple of times a year. And I want to thank you guys for looking into that and pretty much shutting this down. But in addition to that, Don did have a vision. He'd come over and talk about things. And, I think I mentioned last week he wanted to do more of a historical theme with that property. He wasn't able to do it. So he did want to do this Autobahn type thing. And, I live against the field. I don't really use it, but there are people that do use it, and the town doesn't maintain it. And I don't know if they have a responsibility or it should be, a neighborhood community that should manage it. Right now, we have a doctor. I think he's a surgeon, and he goes and cuts the paths, and then the dog walkers come and they park on Nadia's Way, which really isn't an organized parking spot. So I really don't know who's supposed to maintain this. Who's supposed to look at, what Don wanted? I mean, there was a silo there, but it got so dangerous they took it down instead of repairing it. Last year, they started working on the barn, but, it got to the point where it really should have been taken down. I mean, it wasn't in that condition when he died. I mean, the doors were all intact, and he maintained it. He had a Jeep inside. He had a Massey Ferguson tractor. He came around. And, it just kind of, are we responsible as the neighbors? I mean, there's 7 people now on Nadia's Way, and I barely knew who they were. But in this last week, it's unbelievable. We got fires, and today NBC News came out to the field, and, I get a text, so I walk out there, and, the whole neighborhood's there. I mean, are we supposed to maintain it, or is the town supposed to maintain it? I don't know if I'm asking a question, but, I was a scoutmaster, and I'm an Eagle Scout myself. So this is the kind of place that 13 to 18-year-old boys or scouts would go and try to do Eagle projects. If Don wanted this, dock type thing, Autobahn, I mean, I can tell you there'd be an Eagle project next year if somebody just put the word out there. What would be nice? And they'd all show up, right? Fathers, their kids. So anyway, my thing is, I don't know who's supposed to maintain this. Clearly, the neighbors are interested in keeping it clean. They walk around there, and I think we were all here. I mean, Raj is here now. I mean, so that's just my 2 cents. I don't really know. I'm there. I'm willing to help. I'm retired. I could do whatever the town would want us to do. But I just don't. Nothing's really happened. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you for speaking.
Brian Bell, 6 Nadia's Way. On behalf of the neighbors, I would like to thank the town council for taking the time to carefully consider our concerns regarding the Don Tinty Family Park and for giving this issue very thoughtful consideration. The decision to preserve the space as it was originally intended means a great deal to me, my neighbors, our children, and our pets who enjoy this park on a daily basis. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
I have like 45
You're welcome.
seconds.
No.
No.
We're all set. We're moving on to other speakers. Are there any other
All right, thank you.
Are there any other comments in the room? Seeing none, do we have anybody online who would like to make a comment, Kat?
I don't see any hands raised on mine.
All right. Going once, going twice. Thank you very much, everyone, for your comments. We appreciate you speaking up, and we'll see you again. All right, I'm going to close public comment, and let's move on to item D, consideration of special topics. Okay, so let's have our, number one, a discussion on the proposed Meadow Road sidewalk project options. Hi, Russ.
Good evening.
Kat, were you gonna Kathy, were you gonna introduce, or are we good?
No, I could say, so on the agenda, we have option 1 and option 2. We discussed option 1 at the last meeting. You asked us to come back with option 2. So I thought what we'd do is Russ would go through option 2, which was proposed on the north and south side of Meadow Road. So he's going to go through that. And then what we thought we'd do is if we could go onto Google Earth and maybe look at it that way too, that gives kind of a good look at it. And then we'll go from there.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, Russ,
All right,
floor is yours.
perfect. Thank you. So as you can see in that top section, you're at Wisteria Lane. You are going to be, is that better?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit.
We've moved the sidewalk to the north side of, we show it on the north side of Meadow Road. It's coming from Wisteria Lane, heading east and gone to the bottom section. And as you progress to the east, you're going to cross Portage Crossing. You'll get to Wakefield, and then you'll have our first road crossing perpendicular to Meadow Road at Wakefield. And then the next slide. Then on the top section, you'll see going across. Now we're back into the original section side of the road that it was on from the original proposal on the south side. Excuse me, crossing Judson Lane. And then we get over, we have our next crossing is at Summersby Way, across Meadow Road. And we get down to, yeah, a little bit. We're at White Circle, and then we're crossing down at Trotter's Glen and Apple Tree Way, and then to the trail. So the biggest change, as you can see, is from that first page from the north side, where we relocated the sidewalk and show it on that north side of Meadow Road. And that's
Russ, can you just answer like two basic questions? I think the two things would be is that why we wouldn't do it on one side of the road the whole way down, the opposite side, why we're still doing it on both sides of the road, why we did that. And I think the other thing is, in general, what the difference is the amount of crosswalks, right? Those are, so if, again, why we wouldn't go, and I always get confused on what side, why we wouldn't do it just on the whole north side of the road.
As you start coming from reverse direction from the trail, as we're on that sheet, there's sections where the embankment is too tall. We would need large retaining walls, have to purchase property, and it just would not be it's cost prohibitive to the project itself. And that continues up to, I know we're going to probably have disagreement on where exactly, but somewhere before Summersby is where the grade starts to flatten out.
And now this project, though, this option 2, has less crosswalks, correct?
Correct. And this reduces, I think, 2 crosswalks, one at Wisteria and one at Portage Crossing.
But other than that,
it's the same.
It's the same.
Correct.
Would you like to look at the Google Earth first and then ask questions, or?
Sure, let's take a look at the road level.
Go the other way.
Other way.
Left.
You want to go
Left.
that way?
Left.
I'm gonna head west.
No, that's
No,
it.
other
That's
way.
it. Right there. Go straight.
No.
Straight ahead.
All right. So this is just after the trail. Can you turn around here, Kat? A 180. Would you like me to drive?
Yeah. Russ, you drive well.
Please tell Cecilia I do that. There we go. Oh, this mouse is a little weird. All right, so here we are at the trail connection through in this area here. Coming around.
So you'd be putting the trail on the left-hand side?
So the sidewalk right now is on your left-hand side, correct?
Sidewalk, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Apple Tree and Portage?
And that's where we would be crossing there. There'd be a cross.
No,
On-
crossing I'm sorry. We're at Apple Tree and Trotters, my mistake. We're at Apple Tree and Trotters. We'll have just a crosswalk at Trotters.
Trotters on the left, Apple Tree on the right.
Yeah, not on Meadow Road here.
Remains on the left side
Yeah.
Right,
for a while.
yep.
But there's no crossing to get across the road there?
No, there's no sidewalk on Apple Tree.
Sidewalks, yeah.
Okay.
It's this way, not that way.
Okay. No.
You should- you know what I mean when I do that?
No, I do know it, yeah.
So you're not doing crossings on streets that aren't currently. I just want to make that because there's a crosswalk on Summersby, but Summersby has a sidewalk.
Correct,
But like Carriage Lane doesn't have a sidewalk.
Correct.
So you don't get a crosswalk.
Correct.
That's the demarcation. Okay. Thank you.
uh-oh, where do we go? And here you can start to see the sloping,
Yeah.
the large change in elevation.
And you got the byland there too, right, Russ?
There we would, as well as here on this section.
And that's why we're still on the left, recommending the left side.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. There'll be a dozen trees that have to come down. There we are at White Circle. We're coming up to the Hind Farm, and I met with Jennifer Wood last Tuesday, and we walked her property, and she understands where the proposed sidewalk would be located, and it was very fruitful conversation, and I think we ended up in a good place.
Flowers are okay.
Yeah, she was talking about her perennials.
No perennials are going to be impacted. Where she was worried is right here, where you can see the row of plants are here. It's about 15 feet from the face of curb. And given where the sidewalk would be with a snow shelf, there's no reason for us to be that far off the roadway. Still on the left side. Here we are at Summersby.
There'll be a cross there, right?
There'll be a crossing here.
And Russ, just so
As you can see, there's a sidewalk here. So what we would do is we would eliminate this ramp here and bring the sidewalk down to a ramp in this area here.
Would you have to move the utility pole?
No, we would relocate the sign, the street sign, and bring the sidewalk down here and create a ramp right here.
The retaining wall's not disturbed.
No, nothing.
Now, just on that crosswalk, Russ, is that a push button or is that just as you walk into the walk, the light begins to flash?
It would be a push button.
Okay, so somebody will physically push that button when they're there.
Correct. Correct. It's a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, just as you see getting installed throughout town.
Got it.
Oops. My mouse is a little sensitive. I apologize.
Who's laughing now, Kat?
Yeah, exactly.
Mine was worse.
I think my battery's dead. I'll bring one from home. There we are here, coming up. We'll be in front of the stone wall here. And as I said before, some of these sections of sidewalk, we would be a monolithic section with the curb. So we'd have a concrete curb with sidewalk attached to it, like we have in many places throughout town. This section here, I've spoken with this gentleman, the property owner, before. We're going to obtain grading rights to grade this property down to reduce any need for a retaining wall and get the sidewalk in. Here's where the drainage will be improved in this section for the outlet. Here's Judson Lane for a crossing across Judson Lane.
Russ, are you able to speak to how the drainage would be improved?
Excuse me?
Are
Sure. We've ran the calculations in my office. We had to, with given all the water that gets to that one outlet, it gets bottlenecked from the drainage from Portage Crossing along with Meadow Road and restricts the flow through the outlet, through the cross culvert. So we're going to upgrade the outlet from the manhole, add a new manhole and around about 20 feet of pipe for the outlet along with a flared end to allow all the water to get through.
So we're bringing in new material to make sure that we're draining out stuff.
Correct.
Russ, can you back just like a little bit, because we just passed Judson Lane here, so that's where the crosswalk goes to the north side, right?
I'm coming up to that.
Not yet?
No,
At Wakefield.
Now it's going to cross by,
Oh, I thought it
there's
was
Wakefield.
Oh,
Wakefield.
Wakefield, I'm sorry.
Wakefield, yep. Here we are here at Wakefield.
be a crosswalk across
Right.
Judson.
So we'll have a crosswalk. This will be the crosswalk here. Basically, where the camera is right now, you're in the crosswalk to a ramp here. And now we'll be on the north side.
Will there be any work on sight lines? Just, cutting trees back or anything like that to help improve?
So what we would do is, we have I can go into another thing here. When we get out of this, I'll go back and show you the sightline distance. And any low hanging, what we typically do, like even with a paving project, we'll go and look at the canopy, raise the canopy up off the roadway, look for any dead wood in those trees within the right of way. We even talk to the property owners if it's close, and we'll try and get some of those dead limbs out of the trees. But we do the same thing here as well. So it would improve it even more.
Thank you.
And we're here on the north side. On the right side now is the sidewalk.
So this is the new section that.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. So you can see there's some scrub brush in here. And this is from October of '24, just so we're all on the same page.
Does this require grading in this section, Russ?
Excuse me?
Does this require grading?
No.
In this section?
No, similar to the other sides, it's relatively flat. We'll be in front of the stone wall.
Have we talked to the neighbors that are being affected by this new?
I have not spoken, I personally haven't spoken with anyone yet.
I'm asking really anybody from the town.
Yeah,
Have you heard anything?
I haven't, no one from my office has spoken with anyone that I'm aware of.
Okay.
This tree is going to have to be removed. This retaining wall here will get it readjusted as part of the project and be brought in here, like where the tree is, and put the sidewalk in front of it. It'll be in front of the telephone utility pole and in between the catch basin and utility pole here. In front of all the wood line here. Same here. This will be a tree that will need to be removed. And here we are at Wisteria. And we install the crosswalk here to a ramp and head on down.
Russ, I realize you said we haven't spoke to the neighbors, but do you have a count of how many more properties are being affected
I think
vis-a-vis?
it's 12 or 14, Bruce.
14?
Yes, 12 or 14.
14 more.
This is a dumb question. Is that net? Does that include the people that are now unaffected on the other side?
No, I didn't. So that would be,
So if we
well, if you count the town too, so we're probably net 11.
net 11.
So this proposal has more residents supporting in town maintenance of the sidewalks?
Supporting?
We
I mean, like-
don't know that yet.
We don't-
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Support, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, so basically it's impacting more residences, as Keith mentioned, with the numbers.
Our initial notice, did that go to all Meadow Road, or did that just go to Meadow Road that would be affected by?
We sent it to all the Meadow Road residents, but the certified mail went to the people that, by ordinance, that was
Be affected.
affected.
So so obviously another round of letters would go out if something
And,
happened.
and it would be the
The opposite, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just say, I think a lot of people would sit there and say, how could you take a road, start on one side, come across and go down the other? But I think in this case, I think it makes perfect sense You know, it's a long road. There's a number of streets to the west, obviously starting with Wisteria, and we pick up all those streets directly right with the sidewalk. We get to a great location, which you know, basically you've looked at the sight lines and so forth, and we make that crossing there just west of Judson, but a positive way to maneuver and then get people down into Judson and quite possibly at Westwoods in the fields. And then we come up off of, we come east to west right off of New Britain Avenue. I think again we're on the right side of the road there, picking up Trotter and so forth, and then again having a structured crossing again at Summersby. We've eliminated crossings. I think Mark talked tonight about the speed on that road, and obviously the least amount of crossings that we can have is obviously, I think, going to make it safer. So I would say, just me personally, I think seeing option 2 tonight with your overview is a pretty positive development.
I would echo Dave's sentiments and why I was asking that question, but more around also the safety aspect of this proposal. Has more safety by less crosswalks as well.
I think I agree as well. I'm looking forward to hearing public comment on option 2 and comparing that to what we've heard with respect to option 1, because we are affecting more homeowners. I'm curious to see where they would land on that, and it increases our opportunity for us to hear.
I would, actually, before I say my little quick thing, we have talked to Deep, or we feel it's not we. I have not spoken.
The royal.
So, no, I have not talked to Deep.
So, but we already talked about drainage. We feel good about what we're doing with the drainage.
Correct. Oh yeah, no. The drainage is a. If any person gets flooded out during a storm, we try to accommodate as best we can.
Yeah.
Right. We try and figure out what we got to do. We're not putting in. We're not changing all the drainage in town to accommodate that 100-year, 500-year storm, but this happened once, once when it got into the basement, then it floods out his driveway. Bruce is our assistant planner, Bruce Sears, spoken with the gentleman, the property owner. I'm confident with the drainage calculations. But as far as speaking to Deep, I have not required to for the drainage. We went to the wetlands, we got their approval. But I didn't speak to Call Deep on what Mr. Krell says about not being able to put a sidewalk in front of our property. I did not do that.
Okay, but I guess I didn't mean to sound like a gotcha question. But it's because with our experience in doing these types of projects, it doesn't seem like it rises to that level at this point.
Correct. I don't have, we don't have a lot of drainage issues on Meadow Road. Not a lot of standing water. Not a lot of ponding, not a lot of puddling, long-term puddling. There's going to be puddles during a heavy rain on every road, but they dissipate.
Yeah, it was pretty clear this morning.
Yeah.
Describe it. We're ready to deal with roots and things like that as we grade out the sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay. So, for what it's worth, just my stance on the sidewalk in general would be, the sidewalk committee, we built this whole thing for if we were going to put potential sidewalks in the future. And the check marks were, does it connect to a school? Does it connect to rails to trail? Does it connect to city centers? This hits all 3 of those boxes. For me, it's a winner of a project. I live on Copper Mine Road. My kids will be able to take a sidewalk bike ride to Judson Lane when this is built. My friends who live on Tunxus Street are also excited. Tunxus Street is in the village. The opposite side, not the opposite side of town, but quite a ways away. They're going to be able to take a fully sidewalk bike ride to Judson Lane. So it definitely connects to Main Street. You can connect all the way to Unionville Center. So I think in all those things, from a council perspective, are we, setting things up nicely for the town? I think this is a good project for the town. But I will also say, which I know was echoed by public comment last week, which I said to everybody here, which is we would have to be ready to tell residents that we are going to build something on their yard, whether they like it or not, which is not a nice thing to do, and it doesn't feel good. But if we want this project, that is what it means. So everybody would have to be ready, to take that step. So, and it's something I think we all take seriously. I think everybody feels strongly that we wouldn't, we wouldn't do that without a lot of thought. I'm in favor of the sidewalk. Now, to speak to the proposals tonight, I agree. We're trading. We're unfortunately we'd be adding, sounds like a net of 11 more homeowners, but the elimination of 2 crosswalks, I think, is a big deal. It's less kids crossing the street to go across. And the other question I had was answered, which was why we picked the streets we did, which is we're picking streets with sidewalks for crosswalks. I think it's a really thoughtful proposal. I think I was dubious about going back for a second proposal. I think it was the right decision, and I think we've come to something good with what we have here. So I'm I would line with Dave on this.
You guys said a lot. I don't want to add much to it. Russ, you did a fantastic job with this. We appreciate it. You know how much work and effort you and your team put into the original proposal, and appreciate your flexibility and kind of letting us kind of work our way through it a little bit. I do agree with my colleagues. This is a much, I think, better proposal. It is a safer proposal. And I think by doing this exercise tonight with Google Maps, you can see the need for a sidewalk there. There's no question. Especially given what I was listening to Keith talk, and when we put in Westwoods 25 years ago, there was never any kind of thought that we would even think about connecting Westwoods by bikes to the town. But now we have the ability to do that, and that's something that our community is asking for, and I think we have to be mindful of that. I am very mindful also of the burden that can be placed upon individual property owners when a council or a town government undertakes a step like this, and we have to think very hard about ways in which we can mitigate the burden that may be placed on these abutting property owners. So I think there's 2 things that we need to kind of think about. The first is, are we going to do the project? And secondly, what, if anything, can we do to mitigate the burden on the abutting property owners? That's not necessarily a question for you. Your question is really what makes sense, and I think we did a really good job of that tonight. There's more work that'll have to come, and there will be a public hearing, and we'll do it in a transparent and open way. But by and large, I want to thank Kathy and your staff. Did a great job with this presentation, so thanks.
I don't want to reiterate everything that Keith, Bill, Dave, Nadine, Bruce said. Thank you, Russ. This was very helpful. I appreciate it. I think for me, a key is that we have eliminated some sidewalk crossings, because as much as the sidewalk makes it safer, it's not safer necessarily while folks are in the middle of the road. So I appreciate this exercise and being able to see it on Google Maps. And I agree with everything Keith said. At some point, you're going to make a decision that's going to upset some property owners. But we have, as a council, we have to weigh what's the benefit of the public good. And I think a sidewalk on Meadow Road is for the public good.
I do have a question about the other end of the road that I was referring to earlier, Apple Tree and White, where we don't have crossing. Those don't have sidewalks, which I get. Is there any point in at least having a crosswalk for them to get across? Or not a crosswalk, but we were putting in some blinkers so that they could cross. Is that a safety issue at that intersection? Granted, they're going to be walking on the street in their neighborhood, but does it merit at least a crossing blinker for them to get across at those points?
Well, then I think we're back to putting crosswalks at every side road.
Well, we eliminated 2.
No,
We'll just be adding 2.
But there's more people on carriage, right?
Yeah, it comes down to, we could do it. Obviously, we can do whatever you guys feel you think is necessary. The sight line at White is better than at
Trotters and
Carriage. Thank you. Thank you very much. I had a brain fart there.
I just thought it was worth discussing.
No, it is. It's it's a 50-50 call, right? Here's what you're going to enjoy now. You're going to get criticized for not putting it in, or you're going to get criticized for putting it in. So we can't put it in, but it's
look at in the future.
We can look at it and see.
Future. I'm just
in
saying,
the future, absolutely. But
if we have the ones that we have, and then once everything gets established and we see how it goes, if we need to put another crosswalk in, we can put another crosswalk.
Absolutely, and it gets back to what we were talking about before. And I said, as a driver, right, when we're going through these projects, I can't just look at it in the eyes of a pedestrian. I have to look at it in the eyes of the driver, the resident. Everybody kind of takes a piece of the pie in here. As you're driving, do you really expect a crosswalk or a stop sign every intersection, right? And I think part of the problem today is, and it's watching traffic over how many years just here, but over my whole career, they become white noise. It's just all the signage goes into the background, even the push buttons, right? You have at the depot in Unionville, it is at the trail, a lot of people on the trail. A lot of people don't push the crosswalk on South Main Street at that trail crossing. Why? I can't tell you, but they don't do it. They don't do it on Red Oak. They don't do it at Coppermine, right? Can't tell you how many times you come up and you're like, I've learned you go slow because you're approaching that crossing because people on bikes are flying. And I'm not being critical of bike riders. Don't take it that way. It is what it is, but it's just a reality of it, right? That, as you said, Bill, people 25 years ago, we didn't think about the trail, right? Or at least over here. Right. Here we are, we're growing, right? Now you have to take into consideration those bikers, those walkers. So we've added these rapid flashing beacons, but people still don't use them. It's like a stop sign or a red light. How many people came to the town hall tonight and saw somebody go through a red light? It's a rhetorical question. I don't want to know the number. But it's a reality where we are. And I think since COVID, driving habits have changed. It's unfortunate. It's a hard decision, right? To add and put it in, put it back, whatever you want to do for these appurtenances.
Excuse
I
me,
think
Russ.
we evaluate it, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's my understanding that there have been studies also that show that sidewalks sometimes make it, sidewalks, crosswalks can make pedestrians less cautious, perhaps, when they're crossing the street.
Because you put faith in, I push the button, I can go.
Okay, so I think this definitely, I'm glad Brian raised it. It merits consideration, especially perhaps down when we see how it effectively is used. But one concern, I raised it, I think, at our last meeting, that maybe we should have crosswalks, and then I thought about it more. And I do have concerns about limited sightlines, and I wonder if without a crosswalk, people are going to be more careful to look both ways or walk up on someone's yard to get to the next crosswalk. I'm not advocating that, but maybe it's a way to keep people safer also without crosswalks.
You beat me to my next statement.
Oh, sorry.
But thank you. No, but it's true. Like people they get pressed, you sit there and you watch it and they'll press the button and go, right? Don't even look because they press the button. So that's a problem. And then, a lot of the cities have the concurrent crosswalks. So when you're walking on Fifth Avenue in New York City, the crosswalk turns, the people taking a right can't go. They got to wait for the pedestrians. We have the same situation on Knollwood, and people don't like it. So if they press the button for crossing from Wowassa to Wowassa to Knollwood, it's concurrent. People have to wait. Well, the people who have to wait are the ones who complain. But then they say, it's not safe for the pedestrian. It's tough because you're dealing with a lot of moving parts. So a lot of it comes down to people have to keep their eyes and ears open and use common sense.
So I had one question, if I could, or just a couple things. One, have we done a traffic analysis of Meadow ever? Traffic count, average speed.
Years ago, we haven't done it
And
recently.
that, what would you say that was done 10 years ago, or
more like 20?
20. Now, I'm just wondering, is it possible that while we're designing this, you're finishing the design so that, and again, we have to have input, we have to have a public hearing, so I'm not getting to, but I'm just wondering, is that an advantageous thing to do on something like this project where we can get some of that analysis of what the average speed is, maybe from, as people approach Apple Tree Trotters Glen as they approach the stop sign at New Britain, same thing on the west side, and then what the average speed might be in the middle of this stretch and so forth. Mark seems to be talking anecdotally about, he's been timing traffic and it could be as high as 55 miles per hour or something. So I completely believe it. Right. So I just think maybe as we weigh these other things, if we can even get some more information,
That was all part of the plan.
yeah, that would be so- right.
To get,
And that's
just
part of
to,
the plan. Okay.
just to have that information.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we have that speed analysis going forward.
Good.
So we'll have that done.
2 steps ahead, Russ. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, further to where Dave was just going, I mean, we're stopping at Wisteria Lane. From what I understand, mostly financial reasons. We can't go further because it gets supremely expensive if we hit 177. And I think we had discussed that there might be a traffic circle that was being considered for that intersection at some
I
point.
like that.
With that,
Roundabout is in the game.
You never met someone
with this accident, I mean, could we raise the profile of this? Work with our state delegation, with the Department of Transport. I realize this project is where it is, but with the accident and all the concerns that have been raised, maybe the importance of looking after this, bringing the future a little closer, might be worth our investment in time.
Absolutely. The getting up to the intersection of Plainville Ave, 177 and Meadow Road, as I said to you, it could be $3.5 to $5 million. I don't know if the DOT would agree that we would need a single lane roundabout there based on traffic volumes at the AM and PM peaks. I'm all for a 2-lane roundabout. We would like one right here on Monteith as well. That would be a 2-lane roundabout. Judson Lane could become a roundabout. So we have many options of things to do for traffic. Not going to say that word, but reducing traffic and increasing safety.
Traffic calming. You don't like that word?
William, you don't use that word here anymore.
I understand why. It's a
But it is.
word.
It's traffic calming, right? But putting a roundabout in, it slows people down as you approach the intersection. It would be a key
Russ
to it.
excited about the roundabouts.
Listen,
Yeah.
I remember when Ted Lindquist used to present that stuff to P&Z 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Man ahead of his time.
It was.
All right.
So, where are we, Brian?
We are at B. We just looked at option 2 on D1B.
Okay, and now I think we're on.
Are we done with our discussion here? We can move on to E.
Mm-hmm.
No other comments, so we can move on to E, new business.
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks,
That was
Russ.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Patty, would you like to?
There's no motion.
No motion,
Oh,
just
no, sorry, the adjournment. Sorry.
So it looks like the next item is to provide direction to me regarding the proposed Meadow Road sidewalk project. And after reviewing the options, you guys will provide some direction. If one, I'm just going through it just for, if you decided on option 1 is which we talked about last time, I recommend that we put back the action item on the next agenda. It looks like based on our discussion tonight, we're looking at option 2. And so that would be option 2. So an additional public hearing would be required. So logistically, we can't have a public hearing at the June. There's not enough time for us to do what we need to do legally. So the first time we could do it would be July, or we could do it in September. So I think that's, if I read the room right, I think we're looking at this option 2, and I just need consensus of when we want to do the public hearing.
In July, if we can.
Yeah.
Let's do it. in
Are we
July.
thinking about
no reason to
July?
wait? No reason to wait until September.
So the only
Wanna wait till
the only issue is that we get a bunch of public pushback that says I'm on vacation. I want to be at the public hearing because July is a big vacation month. Obviously, I want to get the public hearing done so we can get the stuff done in the fall. I'm all for it if we're really gung ho about it because I think the initial proposal was we could start doing stuff in the fall. So is there an option to?
What if we continued the public hearing if we found that was an issue?
Right,
Yeah.
right. We get that kind of
So-
feedback, you know.
Yep.
Again, our
Kathy,
meetings are
what-
remote. People can
is-
speak remotely.
Is like late June an option before July?
We haven't set a meeting. I would
Oh, okay.
I would stick to, if you were going to do
July.
it, I would do it in July.
Second meeting in July?
No, the first
First
meeting.
meeting.
First meeting
Oh,
in
okay.
July. Yeah,
Which is
I do
what
it
day?
in
So that's
the first
still
meeting
early.
in July, and I think I feel that with the idea that you don't have to close the public hearing, and if you get a lot of pushback on something, you could keep it.
we could continue it.
Right,
I think,
right.
yeah, I think that's a smart way to proceed.
So what would be that date? Just
It
It's
would be
July
July
14th.
July 14th.
July 14th.
Kathy, what's the timing with having to go back to the state for steep prints?
I don't think that's going to be a problem
Okay.
because the scope is the same scope of work. I don't think the state, and we'll talk to them, is about whether it's on one side or the other side. It's still the scope of the project. So I think that because we're not changing the scope of the problem. If we do, I'll let you know, but I think we're all right.
No, I think
Do you feel you have the direction you need?
I do.
Okay.
we're all good. Any other comments? Then I'd like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the May 26th Town Council meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody.